the ecosystem at the moment, the innovation ecosystem at the moment is diffused, it is disconnected in many respects, and we can do a lot to fix that. One of the key things that we need to do is, and I think it was Eva who spoke to that, the whole question of market access. And that is so crucial. I mean, and that's a very crucial part of our work, to ensure that startups in Africa have market access. Yeah. In other words, where they're able to do cross-border transactions. And the way to do cross-border transactions is to make entry level and barriers, to lower barriers and make entry easier. Yeah. And the way to do that really is looking at regulations. How can we help? How can we handhold, literally, our startups so that they can do business in any of our jurisdictions? And that involves quite a bit of work. It involves the foundation itself engaging in the practice in every jurisdiction and bringing the help and results of that to our own startups. Same with our policy positions. Various African governments want to do this stuff. They want to create an environment for startups to do well. But the question is, how do you do that? So there's best practice everywhere, and it's our own business as a foundation to bring that best practice to different countries, to different jurisdictions, and to enable them to develop policies that will help startups to do very well, or to do much better than they're doing at the moment. So I think a very important part of our work is the market access, and to develop our practice around that, and also develop policy, help governments to develop policies that would enable startups to do even better. And frankly, I think we're getting there. We're working at that very assiduously. And I think that we're going to spend a lot of our time, a lot of the time and effort trying to do that. One last point is with the virtual hub that we're thinking, also of now, and we're trying to design that. Because the virtual hub will not only connect all the existing hubs that we have and unipods, but it will also enable us to very quickly disseminate some of the best practices that we have. Yeah. So anyone from anywhere practically can come onto the virtual hub, collaborate, co-create on the hub, but also make use of all of the information, regulatory practices, laws, tax codes, etc., that we'll put on that hub. So I think that our job is really well cut out for us, yeah. And we're approaching it as diligently as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Prof. You've really highlighted important points. Job creation, supporting the startups, market access, that's so important. And not just the African markets, but also global markets. I know, Mohammed, you're quite passionate about that. Enabling policies and, of course, the virtual hub to drive inclusion and accessibility of Timbuktu support to entrepreneurs and innovators irrespective of where they are on the continent. So thank you so much. Mr. Ahunna, over to you. Tell us, you're the visionary behind Timbuktu, you understand the heart and the soul, of why we're doing this. Would you like to speak more to this, please?
Thanks, Anne, and thank you to our investors and startups, and thanks to all of you for really coming to listen to us on this grand initiative. By next year, UNDP would have been in the development business for 60 years. And on the continent of Africa, there is nothing that keeps me awake more than the fact that in Africa today, we're still talking about poverty. Yeah. We're still talking about capital markets that don't work for the people. We're still talking about the fact that many countries are not able to provide jobs for their young graduates. We're still talking about under education. And for us at UNDP, we had to ask the question, what are we missing? And, this whole advent of technology and digital opened our eyes to the need for us to do development differently, to the need for us to bend and push capital in the direction of where opportunity actually sits. That we start to exit the misery business and start to walk towards the hope business. Where is hope today? Where is opportunity? And how do we invest in opportunity rather than continuing to just manage poverty? And I think this is really the push that led us to come up with the idea of Timbuktu. And I have to say, we've been on the road show now with Timbuktu for the past 3 years. And we've come to the conclusion that this is by far the largest platform in the world that is going to build the most powerful collaboration that's needed to transform this space for startups and enterprises. What do I mean by that? You've heard throughout Unstoppable Africa Days since yesterday about the huge potential that's on the continent. What are we missing? A platform that brings all the players together, all the stakeholders together to move capital in the right direction. Whether we're talking about government, we're talking about those in the industry, we're talking about academia, the R&D part of this business, and that's what Timbuktu is offering. It's going to create that platform where all these players come and meet each other and start to cultivate trust. Because trust is really missing in the relationship. And we know that once we can build trust between these different arms, each one representing an important piece of what leads to success. If we can bring all these players together and get them to have one conversation about what success looks like on the African continent, we believe we'll start to make a dent. And we'll start to create value, but not only create value, we add value to these youngsters who are doing great stuff, but also we deliver that value where it is needed the most, which is in the various SDG sectors, where we know that if we don't shift those, we will not be able to end poverty, and we will not be able to promote prosperity, shared prosperity on the continent. And also, I think we'll be able to finance that value, but also retain it on the continent. What's happening today? The best of this sector is starting to fall into the extractive industry. Just like we have in African minerals. You come, you extract the raw materials, make them better elsewhere, and keep the value outside the continent. Timbuktu wants to reverse that. That we've seen talent on the continent. We're going to add value to that talent, and we'll make sure that talent stays on the continent in terms of value. It can contribute globally, but that value must come back to transform the lives of Africans who are producing these goods. This is really our mission here. You know, and I had an extraordinary story this morning. We were having a breakfast meeting with a venture capitalist from Silicon Valley who knows this industry quite well. And they are deploying knowledge, capacity, skilling to several African countries. And they told me that they came across 5 engineers in Nigeria. And when they scanned their database, after interacting with these 5 engineers, they found that they were the best engineering minds they had ever seen anywhere in the world. Wow. Out of Africa. But what were these minds doing? Without opportunity, they were struggling, hustling to make a living by hacking. And they said to them, if we put you in touch with opportunity, you can do so much more. You can change the world. We are just amazed by your brains. And they went on to bring support behind that. So that's what we're talking about in terms of the opportunity that is out there that we're not yet leveraging. And we hope Timbuktu can galvanize and ignite all the different stakeholders, including all of you in this room. By the way, Timbuktu has 2 O's at the end, unlike the place Timbuktu, which has a U. And what we're saying is, you too can engage and make this transformation happen. It's a global public good. It's not just a UNDP facility. And we're putting it on this global Gabi stage because we know that this is about globalizing Africa, but it's also about making Africa's voice heard everywhere in terms of narrative, so Africa starts to get the respect that it deserves.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Ahunna. And I would like to just piggyback of all she said to say this is a call to action. You know, as she said, this is the most powerful platform set to bring different stakeholders together to drive change. So join us, you know. So now we're going to end the session. Thank you all to our inspiring panelists. Thank you to our entrepreneurs. Please, you know, for sharing your bold visions with us today. And I'd like to call on our Goodwill Ambassador, Pato Rankin, for a special performance for today's session. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.